I'm Gabe Lullo, and welcome to the Do Hard Things podcast. We're talking to go-to-market leaders and entrepreneurs who have conquered the challenges, the hustle, and the grind. Get ready for real talk, real insights, and no fluff.
But the hardest thing in the world right now is not actually closing deals, it's actually getting somebody's attention.
If you don't have that hook in that first 5 to 10 seconds, guess what? They're going to scroll to the next one.
You need to go in and you need to make it sound like yourself. That's the biggest piece of the puzzle. And I promise you, we can all tell.
The people that are trolls and the people that are haters never done the thing that you're doing.
I love doing this podcast because I get a front row seat to some of the greatest minds in sales.
Gone are the days of saying stay in your lane. When you're an executive leader and you're an enterprise-wide leader, there are no lanes. You've got to be partners.
Curiosity is like when the type of questions you ask is sometimes the value that you bring.
I need you to tell me when you're ready to buy or what you're ready to do. And I think it's changed so much into like adding more value. And if you're not doing that, then you're definitely going to come off as desperate.
High pressure selling is like a dinosaur tactic at this point.
No parent is like, oh, you should be a salesperson when you grow up, right? Everyone's like a doctor, lawyer, whatever crap. It's never salespeople.
It's not your job to motivate people. It's your job to find motivated people.
It's not cockiness. It's not arrogance. It's confidence knowing I know this and I know that I can help you.
From where I started to where I am today is all because I learned how to sell.
And there's too many people who have only been doing this for 5 freaking minutes. Sit down, close your mouth, actually go out there and get yourself beat up, then come back and tell me if something is dead or not.
That is exactly why I started this podcast, because right there, that's the epitome of doing hard things.
Welcome back to the Do Hard Things podcast with Lexi and Gabe. Today's guest is Vahid Fakhr, known as V, co-founder and CEO of Evalyze, an AI platform that automates startup fundraising from pitch analysis to investor matching to outreach. V spent 10 years on the other side of the table in venture capital, reviewing thousands of pitch decks and watching founders make the same avoidable mistakes over and over. So he switched sides, built his company, and trained it on data for over 8,000 successful funding applications and a database of 12,000 plus verified investors. His mission, make the fundraising process less of a black box and more of a system any founder can navigate. V, welcome to the show.
Welcome back to the Do Hard Things podcast. Thanks for joining in with Gabe and Lexi, of course. V, we just heard your story. Very impressive, of course. You're the CEO and founder of your company, and love having founders on and hearing their war stories and where they started. But welcome to the show.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you for having me. Happy to be here.
Yeah, absolutely. So I always love to break down origin stories, right? Because most people aren't going to school to become CEOs and founders. It doesn't happen overnight for sure. So walk us through it. You spent 10 years in the VC, industry, reviewing thousands of pitch decks. And, what was that first thing you saw founders really getting wrong consistently? And why does it actually keep happening? What was that origin for you getting involved into this?
Yeah, definitely. So yeah, it's I think it's quite a while. I start my VC career around 2014. So I start with different funds, different companies, and start investing and overviewing companies. And so yeah, it's kind of like more than 1,000 pitch deck, different startups, especially earlier stage companies that we work with. And I think the most mistake I saw, and I unfortunately see it today, is that most of startups try to pitch the product, not the problem. And if they want to kind of like sell it to an investors, and if they want to buy it, so because they're really excited about what they built and what they're working with, and so they try to over pitch the product, what they build, the dashboard and everything. They want to show it, but before that, you should convince investors about the problem, about who's bleeding in that market, that if you want to build a product on that. And especially these days, as we know, fundraising getting harder and harder, it's important to convince investors about what you want to sell and about the traction and validating your product. If you have some sort of validation, That's really, really important to mention at first and try to convince investor on that, not the product, not the features, not what you build, mostly about the problem and the validation you got through the problem that you can sell it.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's incredible that you went from evaluating founders to becoming one yourself. It's a big shift. When you crossed that table, what surprised you most about being the founder rather than evaluating the founders?
Yeah, it's really different world. And to be honest, being founder is really lonely. So yeah, when you are VC, so you got lots of startups coming to you, and they kind of like try to convince you, try to pitch you, and you got lots of email, lots of meeting, and you kind of like being a boss somehow. But when you become a founder and you start to working on your business and day-to-day business and lots of problem, meanwhile lots of challenges, lots of obstacle you want to overcome. So it's really a lonely journey. And so, before that, when I was a VC, so it was really easy for me to reject lots of founders because I talked to them and I kind of like get, okay, you are not fit for us, you're too early. So some generic rejection uh, comments that all those VC gave to the founders. But when you build something and you know how hard it is and how you put all your day and night on some things, and you kind of like stay at night, stay awake at night to work on the problem, solve some bugs, and you know how hard it is and how it's kind of like lonely. And another thing is that yeah, it's you got you're kind of like your spirit got crushed a lot by lots of rejection, but lots of no from the client, from the customers, from the VC, especially in early days. And you kind of like build some sort of muscle for can having lots of no's on your mind. And so I think it totally works. And if I came back to I want to come back to the VC world, I totally look differently on the startups. And because of that, I believe if the VC you want to talk with, maybe the associate or the partner you want to talk with, if they not build a company, if they're not being a founder, maybe they kind of like early graduate or they are kind of like MBA that start investing in a company. So I think most of the time they couldn't really understand the business and what you go through. And it's better to talk with the VCs that being a founder, that sell a company, build a company. So because of that, they totally understand better what you're building and what you're working on.
Well, let's double down on that because you said before that, now that you're a founder, you talk to other founders and you tell them the hard truths, right? And you do that now, but you were rarely doing that back when you were a venture capitalist. So what's one of those hard truths, firstly? And secondly, why didn't you say it when you did have the chance as a VC? Is this just not their position, or why did you do that?
Yeah. So yeah, um, I think the hard truth is that you when you got lots of rejection and a VC reject you, is mostly you couldn't convince them that you are the one that you can solve this problem and build that product, and you couldn't convince them on yourself mostly than a company and product. But it's be more polite to tell you, okay, it's not fit, it's not for us, it's not a match with our thesis or something like that. Uh, to that, I do not believe on you. So because of that, I think it's the hard truth is that. So you should kind of like convince them that you are the builder, you are the one that can do hustle, you are the one that you can suffer, you are the one that you can work uh, 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 full time on what you want to build. So I think that's the first hard truth. And why I didn't tell them, so you do not want to crush the founders, I think, soul. So I think the first thing is that, and the second thing is that, and it's not about I as a VC, I don't believe on you that you can build something, and I'm not trust you that you are the winner on the market. It's kind of like I'm not 100% sure. We are maybe 80%, 70% can be that person, but because I'm not 100% sure, I'm just looking for those one that I have a great gut feeling on that, and I am 100% sure that you are the one, so that I can trust on you. Because the VC games, to be, I've been brutal to my VC friends, but to be with VC, so that actually it's really hard job, because most of the time you make mistake to selecting a winner, and 9 on 10 investments usually going to fails. But you should select one winner, so that one winner try to kind of like make your fund successful and make you successful. So it's really important to select the winner. So because of that, most of the time you get to know it's not about mostly product, mostly about the problem, market, and something like that. It's mostly about they kind of like do not convince on you.
Yeah, that makes total sense. And then let's talk more about building Evalyze. You built it on data from over 8,000 successful funding applications. When you were looking through all of that data, what was a pattern that kept showing up that you think most founders would never guess?
Yeah, definitely. So yeah, we start capturing data of the fundraising, what happening in the market before we start to building the product. So we are starting from 2014, 2015 data of the fundraising. So the thing is that the market is shifting a lot. So nobody talk about it because we look at it as maybe as a scope of 1 year, 2 years. So we see the numbers. But if you look at it as a scope of 10 years, 20 years, you can see that there are lots of shift and fluctuation happening in the market of venture capital. So, for example, the things really happening these days, I want to talk about this day to the 2026. And maybe after that, maybe it can be a trend at least for a few years. I think that can be a trend, is that the VCs is kind of like going toward more traction, more validation, rather than just a great idea, great business plan, great pitch deck, and great team and founders. Yes, team and founders, it's already important, but it's not like before. If you build something, even you build it from high school, but if you build something and showcase some growth, showcase some traction, so you can be someone that VC wants to invest on. And because of that, I believe when we look at this data and when we look at this trend, so we have some scoring mechanism through the product that score each company's like credit score based on the benchmarking data we have. So we can tell them, okay, how is your chance of getting fundraising? What should you improve and what you should add? So sometimes the founders back to us, okay, your score is really brutal. Why you score us really hard? Why our score is low? Why your AI kind of like score us like we are a seed or Series A company, but we are a pre-seed company. But when you look at the data, you can see the shift in market. The pre-seed is became more like seed these days. The seed became more Series A these days, and all of these investors these days looking for traction, validation, and growth. Before then, especially for example, if you look at the peak of venture capital and the money in the market, for example, during COVID 2020, 2021, even 2022, you can see lots of companies without attraction, without maybe any great validation, they got millions of dollars. But these days, all is about attraction, validation, and you should prove that's growth. And it's the shifting trend, and it's because the market became more competitive these days, especially after I think last year we saw this surge of new company launching each day. So the VCs got lots of more new deals, more opportunities. So they've tried to find the deals between lots of noise they got. So because of that, it's really important to have a traction, to have a validation, and to kind of like shout out yourselves between lots of noise they got.
Got it. So, I mean, with AI, of course, it's all about automating something that, really historically has been very warm introductions, relationships that are being built. So where's that ceiling live with AI, that automation, and how does that, where's the balance live with automating it with AI as well as keeping those relationships warm,
Yeah,
connecting,
definitely.
keeping connection?
So I think that what's happening with automation, and we are building that, and other companies building that in different industry as well. So is that yes, the AI can make the process really, really faster, even in somehow is better, especially to get the execution manual job you want it done to be more automated, to be more faster. But for us and for startups wants to get fundraising, uh, yes, uh, the AI help them to get faster to those people that actually fit and help them to start the conversation. But the AI cannot build a trust. So it's really important that the trust and the gaining a great network and pitching and communication, it's all about the human. And it's really important to see what is the kind of like breakpoint of using AI and be human in middle. So yeah, sometimes, yeah, if you send some sort of communication, some sort of messaging, so if using AI, so somehow you saw backfire from people and VCs and other people in the market, if they understand, okay, he's using AI. So yeah, so before that, it was really important to do some research for some people you want to connect. But these days, it's important to not overkill it, because yes, you can use AI to do lots of research for that person and write. For example, if you want to send an email or send a message, so you write really, really personalized to find everything about that specific person. For example, they talk in a podcast about something, and you act, okay, I listen to that podcast, but they know you didn't listen to that. You just use the script with the AI or something like that. So it's really important to not overkill it. So just use it as something that help you to get your job faster, get in front of the right persons. But it's really important to building a trust to when use it, when you not use it. It's really important decision you should take when you want to automate your process.
Yeah, that makes total sense. And building a product for founders means your customer is often someone who might be scared, underfunded, under pressure. How does that shape how you build and sell to that persona?
Yeah, exactly. So especially the first day we start the company, so we have this I think hesitation that why founders that kind of like need money and fundraising, but why we should build a product for them if they do not have, for example, enough money even you to pay you for the product. And is that a great money, a great market to build a product on top of it? But when we started, we understand if the problem is big enough and problem is really suffering enough, so you definitely find people to need that, and eventually they are really happy to pay for that service if they kind of like solve their suffering problem. And when we started, we understand, okay, the kind of like one of the first challenges all the founders have, especially in earlier stage, is the fundraising. When you ask them, okay, I build a product, now I'll use AI to ship faster and faster, but how I kind of like fund myself and fund my companies, how I kind of like pair my growth. And because of that, when we start talking with the founders, we understand, okay, that's really, really a suffering problem. And if you solve it in somehow, it make it better for them. So they definitely wants to be a part of solution. And yeah, because even we go further, we understand there's lots of founders that actually because the founders wants to really be focus on the product, sales, and marketing, and they know the fundraising job is really full-time jobs, but they understand, okay, I need someone, I need some company, I need some help for the fundraising, because yes, the tech and product, I should do it, my team should do it, the sales and marketing, most of the time I should do it, but the fundraising can be the part that they can get some help and kind of like free their mind and get the help. Because of that, for example, recently we launched a managed service. It's kind of like the agentic approach service that we just tell founders, okay, we got you meeting with investors, that's it. You do not need to do anything, even use a product or even use the customization. We just give you a meeting with investors. That's if that's the things you want. And we got lots of founders and startups that actually need it, especially maybe later stage of startups, that they are really, really focused and they want to showcase revenue growth. They want to showcase some sort of future growth, and they are in the brutal market in terms of competitors. So yeah, to summarize that, yeah, if the problem is suffering, even if the market is not that generous enough, but if the problem is kind of like big enough, so yeah, that definitely it's forced to build something around it.
I love it. So let's switch gears and talk about LinkedIn and content, because you've built a vast network on LinkedIn, well over 20,000 followers, which is I was actually thinking about this on Instagram, right? For for every 1,000 followers that we get on LinkedIn, it's really like 10x when you look at the other B2C social media platforms. So 20,000 in our world on LinkedIn is huge, and congratulations. But let's talk about this, because you're talking on your, on your posts consistently about startups, fundraising. At what point did you realize creating content, doing shows like this was actually a business strategy and not just posting for posting's sake?
Yeah. So I think it's exactly happened when I understand I should build a trust as well. So if I can do some sort of content, I can share some resources, I can put some value through the contents. And so it's kind of like can be the foundation to build the trust to people that actually can work with you, the founders around you as well. So it starts with kind of like sharing some sort of valuable resource that I understand. So there's huge gap and a problem in the market, especially for the founders. And some of the founders really desperate to have some sort of access. So uh, especially when I saw, okay, there's maybe they should pay lots of money to, for example, access into simple resources, to simple list, simple templates or something like that to start the works. And I believe that's not really fair to do that. So I think, okay, if I have that, if I build this such a thing, so why not to share it with the founders? And another thing is that, yeah, as a founder, you do not have that much time, and it's kind of like the trade-off to put time on the uh, market and on the content, or put time under your product and big business. But I make a choice that I try to convince myself, okay, I do not have maybe that time to build lots of video content and editing lots of video content. You mentioned Instagram, so it's really time consuming to be honest. So it's shout out to all these content creators. So it's really take time. And so I do the research, so I understand, okay, even LinkedIn or Twitter can be my place to do the jobs and build the trust. And I started Twitter and I started LinkedIn, so I see, okay, the LinkedIn is kind of like more resonated to the people, and what I try to build, so I kind of like focus on the LinkedIn. So these days, yeah, I working myself to build around Twitter as well. But yeah, it's really taking some time. So we should. I hope we get more and more grow and improve our kind of like employee, hire more to I free up my time to do that as well.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, your content's incredible, and it's also very specific. Investor lists, pitch tips, fundraising breakdowns. Some people would look at that as giving the playbook away for free. Does it work for you? Are you seeing it convert? Do you feel there's a line that you're like, oh, I'll give this much, and then you need me to convert there? What's the strategy around it?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think yeah, playbook it's kind of like the good part, but I think the more important thing is the execution. So yeah, all these people know, okay, if I read this playbook, so they give me some sort of advice, some recommendation, or even I share some sort of great list of networking. So yeah, that's great. Some people know they should kind of like outreach to those people, research those people, to start building network with those people. But at the end of the day, I think those winners are those executors that execute those process and those steps. And because of that, I'm really happy with that. I even want to do it more if I have, and create more and more resources, especially these days, that if you want to help, you can help your other companies to do it better and faster with helping AI. So I try to be more focused on that, to help them through AI words that you use it for these specific use case. And at the end of the day, I believe if you be generous enough to share great resources, and the market back to you, because you build a trust, and with that trust you can build anything.
So you said a couple things I want to double down on, because one, you gave a shout out to content creators, right? You said it's hard, and this is the show. It's called Do Hard Things. So it
Yes.
is hard. It is time consuming, but a lot of founders on LinkedIn, they try it and then they give up after 3 months because nothing's happening. So one, what do most people get wrong about building that audience? And then two, is it worth it? Is it worth pushing through and actually spending a lot of time and the hardness that it takes to make it happen and build that audience? Is it worth it?
Definitely worth it. And yeah, it's you're totally right. Yeah, totally agree with you. So for example, I think for the first months, maybe you don't see anything, any result, any like. Maybe you had some posts, and even these days, because this algorithm changed, if you have even a huge audiences, so sometimes your posts don't get enough hits. So yeah, maybe in the few first months, you didn't get that much hit, that much attention. But I think the consistency is really, really important. So if you do it just maybe twice time a week, to post a week, and start with that, then you can improve that, and just with the discipline, just try to do it in consistent way. So that's something you can build, that you can use it for future. So yeah, that's a startup. Maybe that's a startup is like a train. So usually when you build a startup, it's kind of like a train. So you will be with your startups maybe 1 year, 2 years, 3 years, but not more than 7 years. Usually, most of the times, the founders, it's kind of like with their startups, if it's been successful, if they want to work with, it's around 4 to 5 years. But if you build that trust, build that network for yourself as a founder, you can build another startups and go to other train and use that network to work on your new startup. So definitely it's worth it, especially if you find, I think, the channel that's actually your audience are there. So, and yeah, definitely, I think the LinkedIn, Twitter, especially if you look for like us, we're looking for founders, early stage companies. So we find it's really better place than maybe Instagram, TikTok, there, and you can find more companies if you want to work with towards companies. And another thing is that if you do it in the consistent way and in the more manner and discipline, so you definitely get some sort of hits. And even somehow, even if you didn't get that much hit, especially about the LinkedIn I'm talking about, maybe someone saw you and get connect with you. So for example, it's that way I find my co-founder. So the first time I found my co-founder is through my post around 3-4 years ago, that I start talking about the problem I try to solve. So I talk with different people, and some people interested, and we talk, and I working with one person for around 4 years now.
That's a great story, and we're very aligned with content. It's a long game, but it's definitely worth it. And I'd love to keep talking about the hard things, and fundraising is one of those hard things. It's emotionally brutal sometimes when you're building a company, and you've seen it now from both sides. What do you do when that rejection happens, and how do you push through it?
Yeah, to be honest, it's really hard to get, especially your first rejection, because when you saw, and I think everyone in their life, they saw lots of rejection. They want to go to college, universities, even some exam. So you got some sort of rejection, and we know it's really brutal. But when you're founders, you got thousands of this rejection, because maybe each weeks you, for example, especially for fundraising, you send 100 applications, send 100 outreach and pitch deck to different people, and 99% of them back to you with a rejection, and even with the generic terms. So they do not tell you why they want to reject you. And the first time it's really hard, so they kind of like think, okay, it's my problem. You think, okay, it's not good idea I'm pursuing because I got thousands of rejection. But it's really important to understand that most of this rejection is not about you as a founder. It's not about even your problem and the solution you want to build around that problem. And it's usually, I think, 90% of time is about that specific fund. So, and they do not talk if they are ran out of the money, if their funds, it's end of the day, if they invest in the competitor, but they do not mention it in their portfolio page. They do not mention if, for example, if there's some decision maker through the fund. So if one of them, they do not really happy with you, and some of them happy with you, they do not tell you, so they just reject you. And most of the time, if even they kind of like not really investing in the long time of period, they do not mention it, they do not want to other now, they are not investing in a quiet period of time. So because of that, it's really important to understand it's usually not about you, and you should take those rejection and kind of like take some sort of profit around it. So how I try to and how I learn to act through lots of rejection. Even these days, we got lots of rejection. We help with different companies to helping them to raise capital. Those got lots of rejection. So it's really important if you can change some sort of rejection through some network. That's really important. So some founders, when they got a rejection, they just kind of like close the laptop and go away. But it's really important to build a relationship about the rejection. You should push forward why they reject you. They should ask more what's happened. You should make it about just force them to give you some sort of feedback, maybe not too much, but force you to give you some sort of feedback, what you like, what you didn't like, in what how I should grow, and what in what threshold you think, okay, I'm worth to take a look again. And even it's really, really important, I think, lesson in the fundraising is that you should build some sort of network for future. So it's the first things I always tell to these founders that we're helping with, that, okay, we maybe got lots of no's, but those no's, you can kind of like save it for future. How we can do that? So we can ask them, even they do not want to give you feedback, just ask them if a simple question. Can I add you to my monthly regular newsletters? That's it. And each month, just share some number, share some honest feedback, what you learn, and maybe you get some surprise in future when you share that, and a day after that, you got some reply from investor, I'm ready if you want to raise capital.
I love it. Well, V, thank you so much for joining us here on the show. I mean, the last 30 minutes has just been a masterclass for so many founders out there. Actually, let's ask you this question. For the audience members out there, who is it the right person in our audience that should reach out to you, and what would be the best way for them to connect?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, thank you so much. I really enjoy it. And I think, yeah, every founders, early stage founders, they kind of like think they are desperate. They think they are not good enough to raise capital. And if they do not have enough capacity and time to do the fundraising, that's why we kind of like helping them, and with building this relationship and with building this automation around the process. And we know it's really, really brutal process. It takes lots of time. It's around 6 to 9 months full-time job works. So we know it's really, really a hard job to do. And I know even some founders, they kind of like gave up totally and entirely because of this time-consuming process. So these founders can reach out to us, that we definitely can help them. We have some sort of solution for them that help them a lot. And so yeah, they can reach out through my LinkedIn or through Evalyze.ai. So usually I take responsibility for all this call and the email we got from the founders.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much, V, for joining us on the show. Founders, go reach out to V. And Lexi and I will want to just quickly recommend, keep doing the hard things, guys. And we'll see you on the next one. Take care.